all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this late debut of the show. I am your host, James Emerson. Let me first start off by saying I want to apologize. This show was supposed to have debuted last Friday. Due to technical issues and software crashes, we weren't able to do that. But, thanks to my daughter, Jasmine, who is my editor, art designer, and tech wizard, we were able to get everything back up and running so we could do this show for this week. So, here we are. Let's get down to it. Who am I and what is this show about? Well, first of all, I already told you who I am. But let me tell you a little bit more about me. I'm a 43-year-old nerd from southeast New Mexico. I suffer from a head injury that I sustained in 2009 from a home invasion. I was kicked in my head with a steel-toed Doc Martin. Silver, by the way. I have a few little neurological problems and optic nerve problems in my left eye. So, yeah, this ought to be interesting, huh? But one of my interests is I've always been into the paranormal. I've always been into, like, UFOs and things along that line. And one thing I've always noticed from watching all of these documentaries and some of these podcasts that are out there is that they mainly focus on the professionals, the investigators, and whatnot, and hardly ever do you hear from the witnesses. And when you do, you only hear bits and pieces of the story. And I get it, these documentaries and some of these radio shows that you hear from, they only have so much time to do it, and they have to edit for that time. And you don't get to hear the whole story. Now, I'm not blaming, the documentaries and all that. Like I said, they're allotted for time. They have to edit all their things to fit in that time frame. I get that. So, this is why I'm doing this show, is because I feel that these witnesses, who only get half of their story told, deserve to have, a channel or a podcast, whatever you want to call it, where they can come on, tell their stories, tell what happened, tell what they saw, without ridicule, without, being bullied or, you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm giving these people a place to where they can tell their stories. Now, at the moment, I'm not set up to do, live streaming, because of all my technical issues from trying to do this show last week and trying to get my laptop and everything else situated. Yeah, it's still a pain in the rear end. I'm still having issues, but so far the apps are holding up. The editing software I have is holding up. The laptop's holding up, so I will be able to at least read your stories on the air, or should I say on the show, rather. And I will leave the show's email in the comments. But you can look at the channel's page, and the email should be there. I'll go ahead and tell it to you. It's the stonerstable2003@gmail.com. You can tell me, send me your stories. I'll read them on the show. and we'll have a good time. We'll roll a fat one and just have fun. So, that's basically where I would like the show to go. You know, I just want to give people a place where they can tell their side of the story without ridicule, without editing, without leaving anything out. Now, I know some of you are probably sitting there thinking, well, what about the the hoaxers, the people who are just wanting to pull your leg? Okay, let them send their stories in. If I feel like it's a BS story, I will call them out on it and tell them, hey, you know what? Why don't, instead of trying to BS me on my show, why don't you use that talent to write a novel? Now, why to try to create a lie when you can actually create something positive and make money from it? A positive way. But, I'm not a researcher. I'm not a professional. I'm not an investigator. I'm just a person that, like I said, trying to give these people a place to where they can tell their stories without being ridiculed, without, being allotted for time, and without bits and pieces being left out. They can tell their full story. And I'll read it out here on the show. I'll even, go one further. If you wish to be anonymous, hey, go, that's fine. I get it. You don't want nobody to know who you are. You don't want your friends and family to know that you had this experience because you don't want to be ridiculed, made fun of. Hey, I get it. No problem. We can always make up a fake name for you on the air, and you don't have to give out your real name. Just need to know, just want to hear your story. Like I said, we can, read these stories of these accounts from these witnesses, and we can roll a fat one, and have a good time doing it. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm not here to tell anybody whether they're lying or whether they're making the story up. Like I said, you've seen this stuff? Here's you a podcast or a channel where you can tell your story. And like I said, I'll leave the email address in the comments. Drop me an email at the show's email. I will read it online. If you wish to remain anonymous, I will do that. No problem. But I just want to give you guys a place where you can tell your stories. That's all I'm doing for you guys. I'm not doing this. I'm not a professional. I'm not trying to do this to make a name for myself. I just feel that there's more to the stories and that those stories should be told. So as I said, here you go. If this is a podcast or / channel that you're into, hey, like, subscribe, help a dude out. Give me a chance to show you that I can do this. I may have a little bit of brain damage, and yes, I get offended when I hear other people use the term, but this helps with that. This is part of my therapy, and it's part of my bucket list. When I was younger, before my head injury, I've always wanted to be a radio DJ and have a show where I could have witnesses come on and tell their side of the story. And since I had my head injury, I haven't been able to do that. So somebody told me, why don't you do a podcast or a channel on Facebook? Or not Facebook, YouTube. Sorry. So I decided, okay, I'll do a podcast to where the witnesses can send me their stories. I'll read them out here online, or on the show, sorry. The wires are getting crossed, and it's kind of hard for me to talk at the moment. Bear with me. Like I said, I just want to give you guys a place where you can tell your side of the stories in full detail without leaving anything out. Because I believe that's where a lot of controversy comes in with all these stories, is those little bitty details that were left out can really change a lot. So, like I said, all I'm asking is for you guys to give me a chance. That's all. And, we can also talk about cannabis, marijuana, Mary Jane, however you want to call it. We can talk about that too, talk about the different types, the different effects, what the best ways to, grow are, just things like that. So, this show is basically dealing with cannabis and the paranormal. So, that's all I'm asking, is to give me a chance. As I said before, and yes, you'll hear me repeat myself a lot. I know people have said that it's annoying, but it's all part of my wires being crossed upstairs. I'm sorry, I can't help it sometimes. If you have a story, if you've seen a ghost, a UFO, and you would like to share your story, I'll leave the email down below. You can email it to me and I will read it on the show. I'm not a professional. I will admit I am a rank amateur, as I've said before. But give me a chance. And let me share your story with the rest of the world. I know there are people out there just like me that think the same thing. We want to hear the rest of the story. What is the full story? What are the details they left out? And hopefully I can help with that. But you guys have to give me a chance in order for that to happen, so I hope you do. I really, really hope you do. So this is not going to be a very long first episode. Just detailing, what the show's about, who I am, and everything. I hope you guys give me a chance. I hope we can make this thing take off. Because I believe people deserve to have a place to be able to tell their stories. Even if they're, make-believe. I'll let a few make-believes get through. But this is pretty much for the serious ones. The ones who's actually seen a ghost, who's seen a demon, who've seen a UFO. I would really like the serious ones. And I know you guys are out there. So, with that and everything, before I go, I want to give a shout out to my daughter Jasmine for the awesome job she's done on the logo design, on the intro and the outro setup. The logo, she took some of old backgrounds that I had on my laptop and cropped them and spliced them together and come up with the logo you see there. Now, this is only a temporary logo. I'm having her work on a more permanent logo, but this logo you see is the first logo, and I'm very proud of the job she did. I'm very impressed. So, thank you, sweetheart, for the logo design. Can't wait to see the new one for the show, the more permanent one. I want to thank her for all the help she's done with the editing and splicing everything together and helping me get this show ready for today. So, thank you, sweetheart. Dad loves you. I'm very proud of the job you've done thus far. Also, guys, if you have any show ideas that you want to lay out there, leave me a comment, leave me an email. Hey, I want to hear this on your show. Let's talk about this. Cool, we can. I got some rules for the show, though, before I go. Very important thing. I need to lay down the rules. Rule number 1, no foul language. And what do I mean by foul language? I'm not talking about cursing. When I talk about foul language, I'm talking about no racism, no sexism, no bullying, no kind of language like that whatsoever. That will not be tolerated or allowed on the show whatsoever. I will have you booted off or banned from the channel, podcast, any way I can. I'll report you to YouTube if I have to. None of that kind of stuff. Rule number 2. Give me a second. That's a bad part of having a head injury, is sometimes you lose your train of thought. No foul language. Damn, it's right there on the tip of my tongue, too. Oh, Lord. No politics. If it has nothing to do with the paranormal, or has nothing to do with marijuana or cannabis, I don't want to hear it. Cannabis politics, that's the only politics I'll allow on the show. If it has to do with anything else, it has to do with Joe Biden or Donald Trump, this is not the place for it. I'm trying to give everybody a channel/podcast away from all that stuff. So, let's keep the politics to other podcasts, please. None of that here. If it doesn't pertain to UFOs and Sasquatch and all that, and ghosts and cannabis, no thank you. You can take it somewhere else. Well, of course, I will probably add a few more rules down the line. As the show goes, I'm sure I'm going to have to. Some jackass will definitely do something that's where I will have to add more rules. But those are the major ones. No foul language, no politics. Oh, of course, rule number 3 is be respectful. So those are the 3 major rules. No foul language, no politics, and be respectful. So, ladies and gentlemen, as like I said, I hope you give me a chance to do this. I hope you help me get this channel/podcast up and running. Can only do that with you guys. So, please, just give me a chance to show you I can do this. And we can be successful, because that's what the round table in the name means. It's not just me, it's all of you are a part of the round table as well. So, and I'll make you a deal, too. I'll make you a deal. If, in the next 2 months, if I can reach 300, I'll say 300,000, likes, or 300,000 subscribers, or whatever. If whatever reaches the 300,000 mark, I'll do a live stream. And instead of doing an audio podcast that day, I'll do a video, a live stream video podcast. That way you can see what I look like. But something tells me I'm not going to reach that in the next couple of months, so this will be an audio podcast. I won't show myself right away. Just leaves that little bit more of a mystery, So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, all I'm asking is for you to give me a chance and help me take this podcast/channel to another level. If you allow me. If this is something you like, well then, hit the like button, subscribe. You know what to do. Do I really have to tell you? And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of here. I am going to try to do a podcast, 1 or 2 podcasts a week. We'll see how this goes. I'm not expecting any emails this first podcast, so if I have to, I'll come up with a topic. If you leave a comment and want to hear me, hear a topic, okay, I'll go with that. But thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, James Emerson. We will see you next time on the Stoners Roundtable Podcast. Peace, guys.